And what we're starting here today is one of multiple videos that will be about taking senior level executives and helping them onboard well into their new role, their new opportunity, and really giving them the best head start possible, right? And what we find is that during this time of transition, which can be its own challenges, sometimes the most important things get missed by very smart people. And at MarketPro here, we work on very senior level marketing, brand, digital, e-commerce, product roles, and those C-suite roles that are critical to an organization's success. But honestly, this applies to any senior level role inside of an organization, so we hope this helps as many people as possible. And what we generally see is that you've now decided to take a chief marketing officer or chief product officer role within a new organization, and it's a crazy time. You are really focused on transitioning from your current employer in the highest and best possible way, which is really important. You ultimately want to leave them in a way that they would always want you back, they would always be willing to bring you back, and they're always going to be willing to give you a glowing reference in anything you want to do next, right? And so that professional courtesy, that professional respectfulness is extremely important. And what senior executives really miss a lot of times on that is the emotional component of that is tough, right? Because you're leaving people that you care about, you're leaving an organization that you've given a lot to, and that's going to be hard relative to how you spend your days and interact with those individuals. The intellectual component is not very hard, right? And ultimately, at this point in time, you're taking work that you've done for a long time and you're figuring out how to transition it from your plate to somebody else's plate. And that in and of itself is not that difficult. So as you're going through this process, and you may leave 2 weeks notice, you may leave 3 weeks notice, and we always get asked from senior people, the expectation is they want to leave more time than they need to, right? You want to leave enough time to give a very professional transition, leave your organization in the highest and best way possible, but also realize that the organization that's hired you has expectations and business challenges and business needs that you're there to solve, and that you're not solving them during that time that you're not there yet. So you want to get there as quickly as possible. Now, with that said, I also highly recommend taking some time off. Give it a week is usually probably pretty normal what you're going to get away with based on the challenges of leaving one role and starting a new role. But starting that new role mentally, physically, very sharp is very important. Normal, right, would be for you to be in that 2 week, 3 week, 4 week transition period where you've decided to go join a new organization and you haven't started yet. And in that window, typically as we get towards the end of that window, so we're within the last 2 weeks, you're going to do an onboarding meeting with your manager. And it's a time to spend an hour talking about where the organization is, where it needs to go, and how you can hit the ground running, right? And it's a great and meaningful conversation. I would also recommend making sure you ask at that point in time for as much documentation as they're willing to share around where the business is today, where the business is looking to go, what the strategy is around your role and a level above your role, so that you can start reading that to prepare for your first day, your first week, your first month. In addition, right, I would request to talk to other people. So that one conversation is great, and it may or may not be enough. If it's all you're able to get based on everything that's going on, that's fine. But who else can you speak to? Be they peers, be they other senior leaders that will help you hit the ground running and ultimately help you formulate your 100-day plan before you get there, right? And that plan will change once you get there. It will change once you learn more. It will change once you interact with other people when you're there. But having that plan fully fleshed out in as much detail as possible before you arrive, based on everything you learned in the interview process, everything you learned in your onboarding conversations, and everything you learned through your reading is really important, because then you're just making changes and adjustments, and it's not one more thing you have to create when you get there. And so the other thing that's really critical as you prepare for this new role and you're walking in your first day, right, is to have all your questions that you can think of written out. And what I mean by that is you'll have questions for your manager, right? If you're the chief marketing officer and you're walking in the door, it may be for the CEO. You'll have questions for the CFO. You'll have questions for each one of your peers, right, that you want to be able to get answered the first time that you meet with them. So keeping a log of those and making sure that you have those ready for that meeting before you start your first day of work is a really important part of the preparation, right? You may be coming into a senior level marketing role and you've got a big agency relationship that's important, right? So as you're meeting with the executives from the agency, what are the key questions you want to ask them about the business, where the business is, where it's going, and their thoughts, right? So you will add to that once you arrive and you learn more, but having as much of that down on paper in a logical format as possible is another way where you can help yourself hit the ground running and really prepare for maximum impact in the first 3 to 6 months.